By today's standards, it's always sad when you learn an animal no longer exists in the wild, like we're losing something great in the environment because of it. Extinction is seen as a terrible end to any creature, and we should be working towards preserving that species as best we can. However, there sure were some that were glad went extinct long ago. From massive monsters to powerful predators, these are everything that haunts our dreams to this day. Some were long gone before humans. 10. Megalania. Isn't it a bit crazy that almost all ancient civilizations have some variation of a dragon story? The Megalania may have something to do with that. This extinct species of giant monitor lizard inhabited Australia during the Pleistocene era, and it is the largest terrestrial lizard known to have existed. They vanished probably around 50,000 years ago, and probably went extinct around the first immigration of indigenous settlers. If you think you got some nasty relatives, just think of how the Komodo dragon must feel. 9. Deinonychus, I mean. All crocodiles are terrible, but not all of them have it in the name. These bad boys lived up to the awful name. Dinosaurs of the time left fossils with Deinonychus bites left in them. They regularly went toe-to-toe with our prehistoric predecessors. They grew up to as long as 35 feet long and were found in North America. Can you imagine one of these just walking through your yard? People freak out for less. We're just lucky they seem to have died out before the mass extinction events, because I'm not sure a meteor would have been able to do the job. 8. Platypelodon. During the Miocene epoch in Africa, Asia, and the Caucasus, you might have run across a platypelodon, which looks a lot like current-day elephants while still being distinct. They had a massive shovel of a lower jaw used to pull up aquatic and semi-aquatic vegetation. They might have been herbivores, but current-day elephants can still be a hazard. Imagine a jaw like that, with the power behind it and the sharp incisors forming a scythe-like tool with it. 7. Helicoprion. If you're like any sane person out there, you probably never had the thought, I wish sharks had a buzzsaw-shaped mouth. Like most other prehistoric fish out there aren't enough fossils left to get a good idea. The Helicoprion baffled scientists for centuries as a mystery. They found bits and pieces of a jaw and finally put together its horrific form. As if we didn't have nightmares already. The whirl of teeth was created as the fish produced more towards the back rather than shedding old ones. All we know is, they went extinct close to 225 million years ago. 6. Arthropleura. I think this might haunt me at night. The Arthropleura is not precisely the kind of thing you want to see out in the woods when you're alone. They might be more similar to modern millipedes. The horror in these guys is that they're not tiny. But do you want to know something horrifying? If they had to defend themselves, they could probably rear into an upright posture and look you straight in the eyes. And I personally never want to repeat those words. 5. Livia 10 Millville. You probably know better, but if a name says anything, being named after the ancient sea leviathans should tell you everything you need to know about this beast. They are a relative to the modern sperm whales and could grow up to around 57 feet long, with a skull alone that was 10 feet. Not to mention its 40 teeth at 14.5 inches long, which are, if you're wondering, the longest teeth on any creature extinct or not. They fed on large prey at the surface of the water. Though its size helped, it was probably so large because of its competitor, the megalodon. They went extinct due to the mass cooling event, which also preserved many of their bones. Lucky for us, the ocean has one less horror out there. 4. Kenorosaurus. Not to say there aren't giant squids out there, but the ones we have are nothing next to this one. They lived something of 460 million years ago and had a vast cone-like shell on top, which aided them in hunting. Though at their size, 40 feet long and 2,000 pounds, they probably didn't have to compete very hard. I wouldn't say this is the inspiration, but if they'd lived a little longer, I could see humans making a big deal about the deep-sea kraken after seeing one of these giant creatures. The stuff of legends, if there ever was. 3. Megaparina. Chances are, the prehistoric cousin is just what you'd expect, but more horrifying than you'd think. They were the size of boogie boards and about 3 feet long. With 2 rows of teeth, where their current successors only have one. These monsters were known to even go after beasts like the megalodon or Tyrannosaurus rex. With rising oceans, they were shuffled off to smaller water basins and couldn't sustain the large size, evolving down to make this change with survival. 2. Megalodon. These whale-chomping monsters were a force to be reckoned with. However, we don't entirely know when the last megalodon died. It was probably around 3.6 million years ago after a global cooling event. The scale of these massive beasts is hard to put together. Their jaws could eat a complete grown man whole. To this day, the megalodon's 60-foot length makes them still to this day one of the most formidable carnivores to have ever existed. We still don't have an entire skeleton, but we know they probably would have stuck to warmer climates. The coastal towns of Florida. 1. Archdades. Not your average bear. The Archdades was 50% larger than any recorded polar bears, and probably would have needed to eat close to 35 pounds of meat per day to sustain their size. They were native to California until about 11,000 years ago, which is far too close to modern times if you ask me. They're one of the largest known mammalian carnivores to have ever existed, and probably went around the same time as the megalodon with a global cooling event. Do you think they fit in among current-day animals, or are they all just a bit too big? A few evolved and are just a more petite version of their prehistoric ancestors, but not all. Let us know your thoughts down below.